Preparing your children for a future as entrepreneurs and job creators. Lioness Mom Part 1 from the post of Dr. Swive Masiwa. I have told you before how my mother encouraged my entrepreneurial zeal when I was a child. She did so many things that I marvel at as I look back more than 50 years later. She encouraged me to have my own little business when I was about 10 years old. I knew how to market, sell, and bank money, even though she was the banker. She bought me board games like Monopoly when it was so novel. Above all, she always encouraged my curiosity. If I was a child today, I could see my mother getting inquisitive and encouraging me to watch channels like Discovery Science, Nat Geo World, and Question Now. She would never have allowed me to watch sports all day or to wander around unsupervised. My holidays were totally structured. Every day I had tasks to complete that she said, even when I was at boarding school. She drove my capacity to read books. She always asked me what I was reading, even though she did not have the same level of education as most of you. My mother was a Lioness mom, and I would not be here today if she had not driven my development with such an insatiable appetite. She sent me to the best schools. Her sacrifices for me were immense. She was able to do this with minimal education on her own part and using her small business. She never traveled outside Africa until I paid for her as an adult. Truly, I shudder to imagine what some of you women out there would do with your own children if you set your heart on it, because you are more educated and more exposed than she was. Let's start. In this series, I want to focus on the modern Lioness moms who are helping the next generation of Africa's children to be future world beaters. My first story comes from Tanzania, where some of you will remember I held my first town hall meeting. The moderator who interviewed me was a Tanzanian entrepreneur, Irene Kiwia, Chief Executive Officer of Frontline Management. I had never met her before the actual interview, but I learned from my staff that she followed this platform. Fast forward, I was in South Africa watching BBC News a week ago when my attention was drawn to an amazing story about a 6-year-old African child called Ethan, who had helped develop a computer learning game about a superhero called Ethan Man. His story has already gone around the world on big media channels like BBC and African News. I almost fell off the treadmill as I was in the gym at the time. As soon as I got off the machine, I asked my team to do some research on Ethan. Sure enough, first grader Ethan had launched an Android app, a book, and a superhero character named after himself to commemorate the Day of the African Child last June in Tanzania. And in their research, my team also came to realize that Ethan's mother was the one who interviewed me in our Tanzania town hall. We were all so excited. How did Ethan's career get started? Even before he was 2, Ethan apparently loved gadgets of all kinds. He kept asking his parents for his own, but they kept saying no. Ethan persisted until finally his parents told Ethan he must first write a book at age 4 before he could have a phone, and he did. In addition to loving tech gadgets, Ethan also loved all action superheroes, but by the time he was 5, he was frustrated and said to his Lioness mom, "All their superpowers are fake. I can't fly. I can't have laser beam eyes. I want to create my own superhero figure with real life powers. I want to show things that are possible and that I can do, things that I will motivate and inspire other kids to be more responsible, to dream big and know that they can be anything they want to be, like a footballer, rock star, or astronaut. So what did his parents do? Did they tell him he was too young? No. At age 5, they introduced Ethan to some edutech experts, Island, East Africa, who he worked directly with to create his first animated book called When I Grow Up. They were fascinated that such a little kid would want to do such a big thing at age 5. Then came the Ethan Man app and computer learning games developed together with a digital company, Ethan.Growing Technology, who worked with Ethan to put together the games and make sure Ethan Man's character reflected on Ethan himself and his own super talents, with skills like writing inspirational books and creating learning games by kid for kids. We will be looking at other Lioness moms from across the African continent. Remember, Elon Musk was raised by a Lioness mom from Africa. Train up a child in the way he should go, and in keeping with his individual gift or bent. And when he is old, he will not depart from it, King Solomon. If you encourage your child to be an entrepreneur, when he or she is an adult, they will not depart from it. If these things that I have been teaching on entrepreneurship and the underpinning values of ethical integrity are important to you, then train up a child in them. All of our future depends on it. I sometimes think that the generation of my parents understood the power of education and sacrificing for their children's future better than my own generation and even those that followed mine. Us who have children or plan to one day have children must be constantly asking ourselves, am I doing enough to equip my children to succeed in the world they will live? And even if we do not fall into either of these categories, it's actually a national question. Are we, including myself, doing enough to equip our children for the world that is evolving around us? If we do not answer this question with urgency, others will enslave us without even stepping foot in our countries.